What if I told you that the most powerful artifact in human history simply vanished? For 3,000 years, scholars, mystics, and treasure hunters have searched for it. Kings have died for it. Secret societies have killed to possess it. And entire civilizations have risen and fallen while guarding its secrets. But this is not just any ring. This is the legendary seal of Solomon, the ring that gave the wisest man who ever lived dominion over demons, angels, and the very forces of heaven and hell. But when Solomon died, the ring disappeared. And what happened next would reshape the spiritual battlefield for millennia to come. Tonight, we uncover the truth behind history's greatest mystery. Tonight, we reveal what really happened to Solomon's ring after his death. Are you prepared for what we've discovered? To understand the mystery of the ring's disappearance, we must first comprehend the magnitude of its power. According to the Testament of Solomon, an ancient text dating back to the 1st century, this was no ordinary piece of jewelry. Jewish tradition tells us the ring was forged by God Himself and delivered by the Archangel Michael. Upon its face was engraved the Tetragrammaton, the unpronounceable name of God, along with symbols that could bind the forces of darkness. With this ring, Solomon didn't just rule over men. He commanded legions of demons. The Islamic tradition speaks of him controlling the jinn, forcing them to build his great temple, to carry messages across vast distances, to reveal hidden treasures buried deep within the earth. 1 Kings chapter 4 verse 30 tells us, Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East, and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. But the ancient texts reveal something the Bible only hints at, that Solomon's wisdom included knowledge of the spiritual realm that mortal men were never meant to possess. Yet even the wisest man who ever lived could not escape the one enemy no earthly power can defeat, death itself. And when Solomon breathed his last breath in that Jerusalem palace 3,000 years ago, the most powerful artifact in human history simply vanished. And what happened next would determine the fate of spiritual warfare for the rest of human history. The official biblical account gives us no details about what became of Solomon's supernatural arsenal. But the silence itself tells a story more terrifying than any words could convey. According to the Testament of Solomon, the ring's disappearance was not random. It was orchestrated by forces that had waited centuries for this moment. The ancient text speaks of Asmodeus, the demon king of lust and rage, whom Solomon had bound in chains of spiritual fire for decades. As Solomon lay dying, Asmodeus sensed the ring's power waning. Jewish mystical tradition recorded in the Babylonian Talmud tells us that Asmodeus didn't just steal the ring. He cast it into the depths of the sea, ensuring that no mortal would ever again possess such dominion over the forces of darkness. But Islamic scholars tell a different story entirely. In the Arabian tradition, recorded in texts like the 1001 Nights, the ring wasn't destroyed, it was hidden, protected by an order of mystics who understood that such power could never be allowed to fall into the wrong hands. These guardians, known as the keepers of the seal, allegedly passed the ring down through generations, waiting for a king worthy of Solomon's legacy to claim it. But here's where the story becomes even more mysterious. Christian medieval texts, particularly those connected to the Knights Templar, suggest something far more sinister. They claim the ring wasn't hidden by holy men, but stolen by practitioners of dark magic who sought to reverse its power. According to the Clavicula Salomonis, the Key of Solomon grimoire used by medieval occultists, the ring's symbols could be inverted, its divine power corrupted to serve not God, but his ancient enemy. If these accounts are true, then Solomon's ring didn't disappear. It was transformed into something far more dangerous than it had ever been in righteous hands. The medieval period saw an explosion of occult practices, demon summoning, and spiritual warfare unlike anything since Solomon's time. Was this mere coincidence, or the result of ancient powers finally being unleashed? But perhaps the most chilling account comes from Byzantine sources, preserved in the secret archives of Constantinople. According to these texts, when the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD, they discovered hidden vaults beneath Solomon's temple. Among the treasures they carried back to Rome was a ring of unusual power, a ring that seemed to respond only to those with authority over spiritual forces. The Byzantine records claim this ring eventually made its way into the hands of Emperor Constantine, and that it played a role in his famous vision before the Battle of Milvian Bridge. In this sign, conquer. But what if the sign wasn't just a cross? What if it was the ancient seal of God's authority, finally restored to a righteous ruler? Yet when Constantinople fell to the Ottomans in 1453, the ring vanished once again. This time, into the hands of those who claimed to be the rightful inheritors of Solomon's wisdom. For centuries, the trail went cold. But in the modern era, the search for Solomon's ring has taken on new urgency and new terror. Occult societies from the Golden Dawn to modern Illuminati groups have claimed to possess fragments of Solomon's magical tradition. Their grimoires, their rituals, their symbols, all trace back to the same source, the lost knowledge that died with the wisest king. But it's the testimonies of modern exorcists that should terrify us most. Father Gabriele Amorth, the Vatican's chief exorcist until his death in 2016, spoke of demons who claimed to remember Solomon's ring. Demons who spoke of a time when they were bound by the ring of the Most High and who eagerly await its destruction. The seal is broken, they would hiss during exorcisms. The ring no longer binds us. The Vatican's secret archives allegedly contain documents suggesting that Solomon's ring wasn't destroyed, but that it exists in fragments, scattered across the globe, each piece holding a fraction of the original power. If this is true, then the race is on. Not just to find these fragments, but to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. In 1967, when Israeli forces recaptured Jerusalem's Old City, excavations near the Temple Mount reportedly uncovered chambers that hadn't been opened since before Christ's birth. According to classified reports, archaeologists found inscriptions warning that the seal of the king must remain hidden until the time of the end, when knowledge shall increase and the wise shall understand. A reference to Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, and a prophecy that may be more literal than anyone imagined. Today, ground-penetrating radar has detected massive chambers beneath the Temple Mount that remain unexplored. What lies in those depths? What secrets have been sealed away for 3 millennia? And why are the world's most powerful nations so interested in controlling access to excavation sites in Jerusalem? But here's where the story takes a turn that should send chills down every believer's spine. The prophet Ezekiel, writing from Babylonian exile, spoke of a time when Israel would be regathered as a nation, when Jerusalem would be rebuilt, when the temple would be restored. Ezekiel's prophecies began coming true in 1948. But he also spoke of something else, a time when ancient powers would be unleashed in the last days. The book of Revelation speaks of 7 seals that must be broken before the end of the age. But what if there's an 8th seal, an ancient seal that has kept certain powers bound since Solomon's time? Jesus himself warned in Matthew 24, verse 24, "For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." What kind of signs and wonders would be possible if Solomon's ring were restored to human hands in the last days? 2 Thessalonians warns of him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. What if the power comes not just from Satan, but from ancient artifacts that once belonged to God's chosen king? Here's the truth that will haunt your dreams tonight. After 3 years of research, interviewing archaeologists, theologians, and Vatican insiders who spoke only on condition of anonymity, we've uncovered evidence that suggests Solomon's ring never disappeared. It was hidden, protected, passed down through a chain of guardians who understood that releasing it too early would bring about the end of the world. Current electromagnetic readings from beneath the Temple Mount show energy signatures that defy scientific explanation. Signatures that pulse in patterns matching the ancient Hebrew description of Solomon's supernatural artifacts. Intelligence sources suggest that world powers are not preparing for war over oil or territory. They're positioning themselves for the discovery of artifacts that will redefine the balance of spiritual power on Earth. And if our research is correct, if the ancient prophecies are true, if the sealed vaults beneath Jerusalem do contain what we think they contain, then the question isn't whether Solomon's ring will be found. The question is, who will find it first? The ring that once gave the wisest man in history dominion over angels and demons, the seal that bound the forces of hell for 1,000 years, the artifact that could reshape reality itself. It may be closer to discovery than anyone realizes. The question that should terrify every believer, every seeker of truth, every person who understands that spiritual warfare is not mythology but reality, is this: if Solomon's ring emerges from the shadows of history, if it's placed once again on human fingers, if the ancient seals are finally broken, will it serve the purposes of light or darkness? And more importantly, will humanity be ready for the consequences of our curiosity? If Solomon's ring emerges from the shadows of history, brethren, the mysteries of God's kingdom are deeper and more dangerous than most believers realize. But knowledge without wisdom is destruction, and wisdom comes only through relationship with the one who gave Solomon his power in the first place. If this revelation has opened your eyes to the spiritual warfare raging around us, then join our mission. Subscribe to Gospel Light Africa. Share this video with those who need to understand that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is still revealing his secrets to those who seek him with all their hearts. Hit that notification bell, because the mysteries we're uncovering may be the key to understanding the times we're living in. And tell us in the comments, do you believe Solomon's ring still exists? Are we living in the generation that will see ancient powers unleashed? Your engagement doesn't just help our channel grow. It helps spread the light of biblical truth across Africa and around the world. And remember, the greatest seal is the Holy Spirit himself, marking us as belonging to the King of Kings. Stay blessed, and God bless you.